everybody, it's Carm here, coming to you on a Monday evening. Felt like coming on and doing a response video to Fred bigstar1000 out there in Australia. He's doing a Gimme Ten series for the last several weeks and several weeks on, covering the 1970s. Each week he'll do covering another year, so this week it's 1972, and I have pulled out 10 records. I thought I had more from that year, and a lot of stuff in the 70s in general. I think I had maybe 14 or 15 altogether. So narrowed it down to 10, and yeah, just wanted to contribute to this. Something about the year 1972, you know, among other years, I don't know, it always stood out for me as far as you know, having favorites, personal favorites from that particular year. So yeah, I'll just start right in with. I'll start right in with an album I just showed, and I won't go into it too much, because I already did a video on it. Is It by Tangerine Dream, their third album. Great masterpiece. Great, you know, again, drone-based, shimmering, organic, you know, incredible artwork. I know Dave Dark Dub in Ireland also showed his copy, so it's always nice to see one of your favorite albums, you know, a very personal one, shown by someone else who, you know, probably feels similarly. So yeah, excellent. If you don't have it and you're a fan, it's a must-have. Helping me out here, but he's standing around the records, it's the only problem. This next one I actually showed, I think in my Forgotten Revisited Finds video maybe a few weeks back. Steve Kuhn Live. Wonderful quartet date here. Piano, bass, drums, and some percussion, additional percussion. Yeah, great lineup here. George Mraz bass, Bruce Ditmas drums, and Sue Evans on percussion, as well as Steve, of course, on electric and acoustic piano. Great Latin-inspired, some freeform stuff, more straight ahead. You know, nice mixture of all these different styles. But yeah, he's a wonderful player, composer. Great titles to some of his songs too. The Saga of Harrison Crab Feathers, always like that one. And he also covers Ida Lupino, like Carla Bley. So yeah, wonderful stuff. Yeah, he's been around since early 60s, I'd say, and you know, this is just another you know, just a great example of him. Still around now, still playing. It's another kind of personal favorite, and Charles Lloyd, Waves. Now I have quite a few Charles Lloyd albums from different periods, which I like. I think are probably better albums than this one. But I mean, it's from '72, and for me this has a personal significance, because I know I've talked about this with Gary a lot. We find we've both in the past put a lot of our albums onto cassette for years, and you know, in order to play in the car, if that's all we had in the car. So I would play this a lot. Actually, I brought it out to Arizona quite a few times on cassette and would play it out there, and it just, I don't know, it just fit the trip. You know, it's just very nostalgic. It actually sounds like it older than it is. Like it almost sounds more 60s in a way. Like it could have been from 67 or 68. There he is, matching there. It's the young man. And on here, you know, there's this great sax and flute. A lot of nice flute playing on here, especially on side 2 is particularly ethereal. You know, kind of goes between sort of a rock, kind of folk rock and jazz, and there's a little bit of vocals, but yeah, it's just good fun. It kind of reminds me of kind of like some of the old late 60s TV shows, where it was almost like an exploitation of the time in a way, and it just, you know, has that kind of feel to it. But it's a lot of fun. I always like that one. It's another one. Great artist here. I'm sure many of you know. Conrad Schnitzel. Recorded live at the German Institute, London, spring 1972. Yeah, Con 72, Part 2. Played on the Synthi A. I love this here with the, well, it's actually all the same synthesizer, just different pictures of it. The artist on the back. Yeah, this is more of a exploring the timbral possibilities of the instrument, not so much melody, harmony, and rhythm, but just a lot of blips and bleeps and doing stuff with like kind of like the wave forms and shapes, and it's a lot of fun, very cosmic and out there, and uncompromising as he always was. He made his own music his own way always, it seems. So yeah, great early example of him here. Just on this one last night, and this one may be an obvious one, but another very personal artist to me, Stevie Wonder, Talking Book. I don't know if I ever mentioned, he's probably the first favorite artist I ever got into. I can remember being like 8 years old and loving his music. There was on cable at the time, I don't know if it was HBO or Showtime, there was a concert film of him, and I think it was during the summer, and I remember taping it, in early days of the VCR, and watching it endlessly and just absolutely loving it. I just thought he was the greatest, and still think so. Of course, has great hits on here. Yeah, You Are the Sunshine of My Love, Superstition, all really good songs, and I'd forgotten how diverse the album is. Just all the different styles and approaches he takes, and very ahead of its time too. Even the songs that I hadn't remembered for a while. I mean, they're very. It could have been done now, even with kind of the resurgence of interest in analog keyboards. But yeah, it speaks for itself. So yeah, wonderful artist. And the first time I'd ever seen or felt Braille, you can see on there on the. It's got there and a little bit on the inside too. Yeah, what could be said? Another great one. I don't remember. Did Fred? I think Fred showed this. I think Dave showed this on CD. Noi, Hallo Gallo. Well, actually, it's their self-titled first album, but on this one, it's actually the first cut is Hallo Gallo on the Rock on Brain label. I got this back in, I want to say maybe late '94, early '95. At a record store that I had just learned about at the time, which serendipitously has been open since 1972, called Valhalla in Oak Park, just north of me. And I think I picked this up because I also had Klaus Schulze's Picture Music, which is also on this label, so I assumed it was going to sound like it. Oh, in fact, it's at the bottom there. But I assumed that this would sound like picture music, which in a lot of ways it doesn't. But yeah, I loved it right away. And a quick little side story to it. I remember I was watching a film on TV called Heroes, Sally Field and Henry Winkler. And I'd seen it before, but this time when it came on, for some reason I felt like hearing this album. So I kept the movie on, but I turned the sound down and just kept playing this, flipping the record over to the movie. So I always associate that this as being kind of like the sound, like the probable soundtrack to the film, and yeah, I always make that association. It's kind of a road buddy movie, of the '70s, and I think of this, especially the opening cut, Hallo Gallo, as kind of the ultimate open road music. Just long stretch of road and with your pal for a long drive. But yeah, again, a great classic. All time, and I've been a fan ever since. It's way back when. Another all-time favorite, Paul Winter Consort, Icarus. Yeah, this is really where I learned of all these great, organ, and of course you got Ralph Towner, Colin Walcott, Paul Winter himself, David Darling, Paul McCandless, Herb Bushler on bass. Just a wonderful, I think really an innovative album of kind of what you can call world fusion. All kinds of world musics with jazz, a little bit of classical, some great improvisation. And absolutely love the cover. For me, this is one of those albums I used to spin endlessly starting my day. Perfect if you're having to get up early. Just as the the sun's coming up, or yeah, just after. Just fits perfectly. All the variety of instruments there. Yeah, just an all-time classic. One I've listened to, I couldn't say how many times. I could play it in my head, but you know, there's nothing like actually hearing it. So, would highly recommend it if you're not familiar with you know, this particular album and you like the the people involved. It's wonderful. Another favorite, Walter Carlos, Sonic Seasonings. Great mixture, innovative mixture of electronics and nature sounds, probably like field recordings, wind, rain, wolves, maybe coyotes howling. Another little story behind this for me. Again, this is another one of those albums I would put on cassette and listen to in the car, or wherever I couldn't actually play the vinyl. And I remember one day I had to go to the DMV office for some reason, and remember it was in the dead of winter, real dark and gray, and I think I was even playing, it has the Four Seasons on here. I was either playing fall or winter on there, and I just remember endlessly circling the parking lot trying to find a spot and having this play. It's just funny though that that's the memory that I associate with this great visionary album, instead of seeing what you should be seeing with this, imagining the bleak DMV parking lot in the dead of winter, but otherwise, got fantastic imagery here, and yeah, favorite of many years. I think I actually have a second copy of this that Jenny B-Sides had sent me, so yeah, just a fantastic, great, innovative, early electronic album. The master himself, Theriot, Persian Surgery Dervishes. This is another one I found at Valhalla right around 94, 95. Yeah, I got it for $6.50 way back when. Yeah, wonderful. These are basically two live performances. One of them is in 1971 in Los Angeles, and the second's in 1972 in Paris. And I also have it playing in the background. CD. I think what I have now playing is the second one. It would be the second disc on this one too. And just a really striking inner cover. The liner notes, I believe in French, which have been produced in English on the CD, which I'm appreciative of. But yeah, and the great photo there of the artist. Yeah, I mean, what could be said? As the 70s wore on, albums like Descending Moonshine Dervishes and Shri Kamal, his playing complexified more with the use of echo, and yeah, it was like he would overlay his improvisational lines and play against them and keep building them up. This is much more stripped down, but you could really kind of hear the process, as it's happening. It's really, just mesmerizing. Still an all-time favorite. There's times where his right hand lines, his melody lines, almost sound like a sequencer. They're so such a strong repetition, but they're just, again, mesmerizing. Yeah, another one I couldn't recommend enough if you want to get into what's known as minimal music, and his in particular. And finally here, I think that's 10. I'm pretty sure I counted right. Yeah, another an all-time favorite group and my favorite period of theirs, Foxtrot by Genesis. It has the great songs Watch Her the Skies and Supper's Ready. Gary and I were talking about the tune Can Utility and the Coastliners, which is kind of an unheralded tune, which is really nice also. But, yeah, I think this is kind of their breakthrough in a way after Nursery Crime, as far as kind of establishing the sound they became known for, up until the later years when Peter left and Phil took over as singer. But yeah, just wonderful. Yeah, ever since hearing Watch Her the Skies, Actually, their live album, which opens with Watcher of the Skies, is a real touchstone album for me. I'll have to go more in depth into that one day. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I'm sure you all know about. But yeah, just again, like always, it's an all-time personal favorite. And now there's one album which I couldn't find. You know, I might have misfiled it, that I wanted to include in the list. But once I do find it, I'm going to give it its own video because I'm kind of thinking of doing it. I'm not going to say which one it is, but you all will see eventually. But it's another one that's very personal and kind of opened up a lot for me as a listener. So yeah, little 1972, Gimme 10. And for anyone who's not familiar with Fred's channel, any new subscribers here, please do yourself a favor and check him out. He's wonderful. One of the earliest people I saw when I first came across VC videos, you know, after Derek and a few others, he was, you know, and he's been there longer than most. So yeah, please check him out. I'll leave a link to him, and yeah, and I know he'd like hearing from you, especially participating in these threads. And yeah, I look forward to 1973. So yeah, thanks again, Fred, and hope we're all well. And you know, until next time, peace, love, and joy.